Yo, Tripolar Bear. Today we're going to talk about a super juicy Nemesis 3 farm. It's what I did yesterday, and I grinded out 11 of these maps. Really, it should have been 12, but, we'll talk about that later. I filled up almost 2 quad tabs with just currency, maps, Scarabs. We'll talk about how much I made from all of this in a little bit, but first, because it was so worth it, let's talk about how you can set this up as well. So, the gist of this strat is, and I picked this up from a cool Empyrean video, so shout out to MP. I wanted to test this out myself to see how much money it was making, as I was running, as you saw in my previous video, Promenade, Delirium Mirrors up in Lexajoris. So now we're doing Nemesis 3 farming, which is a step up from Delirium Mirror farming, which is a lot of very low entry, kind of 16 seed map cost kind of things, right? It's very low entry juicing. This is very high entry juicing. We'll talk about how much it costs later, but the gist of it is you do Glenlock Cairns. You're going to do a map like Jungle Valley because Jungle Valley is very long. It's a tier 16, which works out well with your Misinformation Stone, which gives +1 to the level of the area. But anyway, we do it in Glenlock because it has Beyond nodes. The Beyond demons are very important for the strategy because the gist of this strategy is using a Watchstone that has Nemesis monsters. Where is mine? The gist of it is using a Watchstone that has Nemesis monsters drop 3 additional basic currency items. A Nemesis monster is pretty much going to be any rare monster in this map, and so when you kill monsters in Glenlock Cairns, they're going to have a chance to attract monsters from the Beyond, and we'll be stacking this through many different methods to have even more of a chance to attract monsters from Beyond. And so when you kill something, more monsters spawn. Those more monsters are rare. So if they're rare, they're Nemesis. And if they're Nemesis monsters, then they're going to drop 3 basic currency items, as well as having an additional chance at dropping another basic currency. And then this just makes it so it's easier to spawn monsters in the merging radius, which means with Beyond, there are little portals that are put down. Pretty much those portals have increased AoE, which makes it much easier to spawn a lot of Beyond monsters. And if you're spawning monsters on monsters, then now you got a lot of rares and you got a lot of currency dropping, as you'll see in the clip later. The Atlas passives for here, I just went with the strong boxes. Strong boxes are nice and easy. You could do Legion if you like. Legion's pretty fun. Honestly, you can't go wrong. It's just you have to do the Beyond, and you would never choose Alva because, then you'd be running Alva temples. So, the Watchstones you'll use for this Nemesis 3 strategy, I think the best ones you can use are going to be the demonic ones. Now, these are about 1 Exalt each, and if you want to set this up, I would actually buy a couple extra of these because you're going to need, as well as those, a Misinformation. And these are what makes the strategy very expensive. You can do it without these. You could do War Among the Stars, which adds like 15 packs of monsters. You could do a Booming Populace if you want, which gives pack size. You don't have to do this, except, if you want to make the most money. Because this increased effect of modifiers on non-unique maps makes it so that your Beyond spawns so much easier and you get so many more monsters from doing this Beyond juice. So it really is worth it over 12 maps. I get that it is expensive, but this is the expensive juicer strategy. And you'll see that it's very much worth it. So if you get one of these for 4.5 exalts and you grab, 4 or 5 of these for 1x each, then you'll be really set up. I have one of the good ones, which is going to be called Fraught. This is slaying enemies closer together. Has a 1% chance to attract monsters from Beyond. That's really good because this is how you initially get the Beyond portals and whatnot. And then these, the demonic ones, are 1x each, right? This thing is, I'm pretty sure they were 5x each. Now they're like, 5-ish, right? Depending on if someone buys those, right? It's 5 exalts for one of these. It's 1x for one of these. I think it's better to have maybe like one of these, but mainly these Watchstones. Because what's nice about having a surplus of all these extra Watchstones is that you can roll your extra Sextants on these. And what you'll do for this strategy with your Fraught Watchstones, and this is what I was doing yesterday, is you'll grab them all into your inventory alongside your Misinformation Watchstone, and you'll put one Watchstone at a time into this area. And this lets you block Sextants. If you were here during Ritual League, we did this exact same thing to force Poison Sextant, or, you know, to do Nemesis 3 as well, right? A lot of this is just forcing good Sextant to roll by blocking 3 of the very easy to roll ones, right? Any of the players take, increase whatever, and have extra packs of whatever, right? The cold, the chaos, conversion, flasks, fire, all of those are very easy to roll. And so having these 3 Watchstones here and taking one of your other extra random ones and throwing it in there makes it so that, right, like let's say we do this. Now I can't roll these 3, and it makes it so much easier to roll the good stuff. And then you just take your Sextants out and you just start rolling, right? And then you try to hit something good, right? And so when I hit something like Hunted Traders, that's really good, right? So I'll throw that aside, because the optimal Sextants that I'm looking for on my Watchstones, and this is why it's so nice to have extra Watchstones, are going to be Hunted Traders, obviously, Nemesis monsters, drop 3 additional basic currency items. So you want Hunted Traders, Nemesis 3. I really, really like the unique monsters dropping corrupted items. This one is super, super good because it makes all of the Beyond bosses drop corrupted stuff. One of the corrupted outcomes that you can get from corrupting an item is a 6-socketed and 6-linked item. So I got a lot of divines from that, and you'll see that in the results of how much money we made later. And then the last one you want to get, which I don't have right now, is going to be Beyond. You'll want the 6% chance Beyond on your other Watchstone. And so anytime I hit like Hunted Traders here, like let's say that I hit, you know, I have like Hunted Traders already on this stone, I just bring a new one in, right? I save that Hunted Trader, I'll save the extra Nemesis, I'll save the extra Beyonds for later, so that I don't have to sit there and keep re-rolling and whatnot. It makes it much, much easier like that. So in the end, I think you should have one misinformation, right? Don't do this one. I just didn't have one on hand. You should grab one of these. I used mine up yesterday. This is very good. It increases the effect of all of the good things, right? Which is going to be the Beyond, you know, all of those nice modifiers that add like a bunch of stuff from your Watchstones, for example. The demonic Watchstones are going to get increased by this as well. So your Beyond portals have even more of a chance to spawn extra Beyond demons. It just does so much for it. It's so, so good. And that's why it's at 4.5 exalts right now, right? It's worth 4.5x because it's worth even more than that, right? If this stone wasn't worth 4.5x, nobody would be buying it. And it's very much worth it in this strategy because of all the extra Beyond monsters you get, which means you get a bunch of extra currency from Nemesis 3, right? It's all about just adding as many rare monsters to the map as possible, which is why we'll use these Scarabs here. So we've got the Watchstones. We went through the Sextants you're going to use. And now we're going to do the Scarabs. You're going to use a rusted or elder Scarab. It doesn't matter. Rusted or polished elder Scarab. It doesn't matter. I was able to get polished elder in bulk. It doesn't really matter which one you get. You just want to have elder because elder is going to spawn a lot of monsters from those elder portals, which is very nice. Next, you're going to want a gilded harbinger. You could do polished if you'd like. Polished is a nice little budget option. But, you know, if you're going for the juice, you might as well splurge a little bit and get one extra harbinger pack, which means another kind of very nice, dense set of monsters, right? Because the Beyond demons are going to spawn from these little circles that come pretty much off of the corpses of the monsters you kill. And so harbinger is very good when combined with Beyond, since the harbinger is just all in one nice condensed circle, which means all of the Beyond portals are right next to each other, which means you get a bunch of Beyond monsters all at the same time. It's very, very good. Next, of course, you're going to use Legion. Legion is just dope. It's fun. It adds a lot of monsters. It adds a lot of rares, which means it adds a lot of Nemesis currency drops. The last one is going to be a little bit of a flex. I was running Gilded Abyss, which is very, very good. You get 2 additional abysses. These are very cheap as well, and you get 50% increased monster from those abysses. You can do this one. You could do breaches if you'd like. I just found like Gilded Abyss were pretty fun, and they do actually spawn a crap ton of monsters, which is pretty nice. You could also, when you hit the strong box and rage, which I did once yesterday, you could use a Gilded Ambush to add an extra 5 strong boxes. That one's pretty cool as well. So that's very nice to throw in there. If you don't hit the unique monsters dropping corrupted items and you hit strong box or enrage, which means they have 500 increased quantity, then, you know, just use a Gilded if you'd like. Honestly, it's a little bit of a flex, but I prefer the Gilded Abyss. And so now that we have Scarabs, the Watchstones, the Sextants, now the map. I was running for my 12 maps yesterday. Jungle Valleys rolled with a Delirium Orb for Scarabs, right? That skittering Delirium Orb at just 20%. You just want to add a little tickle of a Delirium Orb. You can buy the random whatever ones. Those will be about 25 chaos. That's totally fine. I liked using Scarab because in the end, I'll show you that I did make a little bit of money from it. We ended up making like 15 chaos off of the skittering Delirium Orb, which is pretty nice, off of random little Scarabs, and those are not including all of the little crappy ones. And so you can kind of sustain some of your Scarabs, which is pretty nice. Just a little bit less trading. You know, you got to buy the Delirium Orbs anyway. I bought my skitterings for about 75 a piece. So we've got our map. You throw the 20 quality on it. You throw the 20% Delirium Orb on it, just one of them. And now you have to roll your map to have Beyond. You should scour Binding Orb or you should scour Elk, as a scour is about 0.45 to about 0.6. And a Binding Orb is like 0.1. Same with the Elks, right? So every time you roll, it's about 0.6 C to roll. It's much cheaper to roll it like that. And it'll take you, you know, however many Scours and Binding Orbs. It's really not that many. I found like I was getting mine in about like less than 20 on average. But of course, you know, you can get a little bit unlucky sometimes. So, you know, some of them take a little bit more than others. On this build, you want to make sure that you don't do minus max or less recovery, because on Forbidden Rite Occultists, we're damaging ourselves all the time. And with all of the increased effect that you get from your misinformation, your minus max map is going to make you go all the way down to like 65 or 60, you know, close to 60 resistance with misinformation and your awakening bonus, increasing the effect of modifiers on maps as well. It makes it really nuts if you roll that. So I just, you know, you just re-roll it, right? If it's got minus max, if it's got less recovery rate, then you just re-roll it. I didn't re-roll the Cannot Be Stunned, which stops you from applying Warlord's Mark and using Berserk, but, you know, that's fine. I just dealt with it for those maps because I didn't want to re-roll that again. But it's stuff to keep in mind. Next, prophecies that I was using. Everybody should use a Tempest Prophecy when you're doing juicer strats. This applies also to doing the Delirium Mirror Farm. I'll put this link down in the description, but it's just a nice search of all of the Tempest Prophecies and none of the bad Tempest ones, the ones that spawn monsters and stuff like that. So these are about 4 chaos each. See, this guy's got 50, 100, 80, 70. These are people who are just sitting there buying prophecies all day, and they seal the Tempests and sell them because they're fishing for, you know, those really valuable prophecies. So it's very, very easy to buy these in bulk at about 4 chaos each. I also picked up a Plague of Frogs, which procced a couple times. You can do other ones on top of this. Plague of Frogs just adds, you know, some packs of monsters to an outdoor layout map, which is really nice. There are other prophecies you could do. Waiting in ambush for the rogue exiles coming out of your strong boxes. Bountiful traps for additional strong boxes. Since you are doing the strong box Watchstone in a nice juicy area, or the strong box Atlas passives in the, you know, juicy beyond area. They can be really nice. I just didn't want to bother sitting there trading for a bunch of extra prophecies to try to proc them all. So there's a little bit of extra juice you can make from this. So now that we've talked about how to set up all of this stuff, right? We talked about the Watchstones you should use, the Sextants to roll, the Scarabs, how to roll the map, prophecies. The last thing is going to be the map device. If you have infused Nemesis, you can use those. But no matter what, you have to use Nemesis unless you roll a map that has Beyond and Nemesis in it at the same time. Then Ritual is insane in this because Ritual adds so many monsters. Ritual is actually nuts. Other than that, I was just using any infused on stuff like that. So, you know, if you have a Nemesis Beyond, you just throw infused Harbinger, you know, infused whatever, really. You could do Bloodlines if you really want, but I think you either do infused Harbinger or Nemesis, or you just do Ritual if you roll Nemesis Beyond. Otherwise, just go ahead and do Nemesis on there because you need the map to be Nemesis so that the Nemesis monsters drop additional basic currency. You're going to need Alva missions as well. This is pinnacle to every single end game farming strategy. They all need Alva missions, and how you can get Alva missions very easily is that you either roll or buy Watchstones that give you a 90% chance or more after you complete the map to give you an Alva mission. And so this T1 roll goes from 66 to 100. So you can roll it, and if you hit 66 or between 66 and 100, you know, you just try to divine it to be close to 100. And this is very, very good to get all of your Alva missions up in Lexajoris, because Alva missions in areas, or this area has an additional 10% chance to grant Alva missions on completion. So it just makes it nice, right? You can get extra Alva missions from that. And now for the middle Atlas passives. This is very important. You need to be rolling your Sextants with one additional use so that your very high value Sextants, you get an extra use out of all of them. That's very nice. I really like to have close allies, so I get extra free missions. Every day I get 2. And you also get an extra chance to get Atlas missions. And Secrets of the Stone, which increases the effect of all of your Watchstones. This is very important as well. The other ones I do this to get free Elder and Shaper maps. I do this for extra Conqueror progress. And I do this for just more Zana missions. Although you could choose Neural Pathways for this strategy if you'd like to have a 1% chance to get a Cortex or, you know, some crazy stuff like that. It's less than 1 because there's other maps that could drop. But there we go. How to run them all, how to juice it. And now for how much money you make from the strategy. Yesterday, I ran 12 maps. Really, I ran 11. We'll pretend it's 12, though, just because there might be a little fudging. Maybe I got a little lucky. Maybe you'll get a little unlucky. So, you know, one of my maps got eaten because I talked to Kirek, talked to Zana. I had an Al-Hazim here, and he locked my Watchstone in here until I did the Al-Hazim. So my last misinformation use got eaten by a Conqueror. That was my bad. Don't talk to Kirek until you're ready, until you've already taken your Watchstones out and you're ready to do that Conqueror mission. All right? Don't be like me. I wasted my Sextant and my misinformation use, but whatever. All right. We made 5,700. And it costs in total 2,600 to set up all of these maps, which means each map that I ran cost me about 216 chaos. So just about 1.5 exalts invested in each and every map. So if we made 5,700 chaos yesterday and it only cost 2,600 to set it all up, this is including misinformation, rolling, the cost of the map, the cost of the Scarabs, Sextants. This does not include the cost of the magic Watchstones because you can sell these back when you're done. They don't have uses. They're infinite use. This is only including the cost of things that have uses and will run out. This is also including the price of the Skittering Delirium Orb. So, all things considered, I made 3,100 chaos profit off of around 12 maps, which is pretty wild. Every map that I ran, I made about 258 chaos profit, right? That's profit after including the cost. So every single map, I made 1.7 exalts per map. Now, when I say I made 1.7 exalts per map, that does not mean, you guys, that I got 1.7x raw from each and every map. No, I had only gotten 9 out of the 12 maps, which is going to be about typical, right? You are going to get almost 1 exalt from every map on average. You might be a little unlucky. You might be a little lucky. It all depends. But my results are fairly typical from what I've seen from others and from what I've had in previous leagues. So 1.7x profit per map. I can run these maps. I think running them, looting them takes around 20 minutes for each map. Because the running them is not that long, but then you have to do all the looting, as you'll see after this, which does take a little bit. So let's say we can run about 3 of these per hour. It makes about 5 exalts an hour. There's room for more because you can get lucky drops, because I've taken out some of the very good items that I had drop. For example, like an intuitive leap, just because we are running with so much quantity, so many monsters are spawning. There's so much extra juice there for you to have. You know, there is more room for improvement, but this is a pretty good baseline for the level investment that I used for this strategy. Now, where does most of this money come from? Well, most of it is going to come from currency, right? A vast majority of the money made from this is going to be just raw currency. We have exalts being number 1. Number 2 is the divine orbs I got from the unique monsters dropping corrupted items. 52 over 11 maps. That's real wild. 483 raw chaos picked up. Awakened Sextants alts all the way down. I was picking up 6 sockets for a while. Honest to God, I don't know, dude. I think it's probably not worth it. Out of those 11 maps, I picked up so many. I was even picking an extra one up on my cursor. I'd log out, so I got the vendor one extra 6 socket. At the all said and done, all that effort made me about 80 chaos. So maybe, you know, don't pick up the 6 sockets. All right, a little feels bad. All of it is just raw currency, right? I got 1 ancient orb from all the shards. I got a couple aberrant fossils. And this is excluding things as a stack worth less than 6. So I need at least 6 1C items for it to be counted in this EXALTS next setup. 4,400 of the 5,700 that I made was raw currency. We made about 430C in maps. Now these are just whatever random maps, right? I got 9 jungle valleys back from the 12 that I ran. So we pretty much sustained those, although I did include them in the cost of running them, just because you'll probably have to buy those just to start out. You know, we got towers, and I don't know why it shows the elder symbol, but these obviously aren't all elder maps. I think I only got like 2 or 3 elder maps. Right, but you know, a little money from maps, take that out if you don't want. You still make a lot of money, even if you don't want to sell your maps. And the Scarabs, I made from my skittering delirium orb, right? We made about, they were 75 per. We ran about 12 of them, so 900 chaos in all the, or it was 11 maps actually. They were about 75C times 11. So, you know, 956 minus whatever it was, 825, means, you know, I made a little bit of money on the skittering delirium orbs. It just kind of stops you from having to trade for some. But, you know, the margins were pretty small, right? We made about 11, 12 chaos from each skittering delirium orb over the 11 maps that I ran. So, you know, it's not crazy good. I think it's probably not too worth it in the end. But, you know, if they go up at all, then you're making like maybe 5 chaos per. I think it's just a little cute thing you could do just to maybe try to have to trade for less of these scarabs. Although you will have to probably still trade for the gildeds, as the rusteds and the polished are what's really going to be dropping most of the time. Honestly, in the end, you probably just pick up the diviners. But that's all the money that I made from that strategy. That's pretty good. All things considered, at the end of the day, right, we made how much exalts yesterday? I think it was like 21x yesterday, minus 2,600, over 11 maps. Like that's pretty crazy, dude. That's actually pretty nuts, right? Look at that, dude. Over 145. We made 22 exalts over 11 maps. That's pretty wild, man. That's pretty wild. Honestly, they're a little bit boring, but, you know, you're making money. And if you got a goal that you're working towards, it's not a bad one. I think a lot of people would probably get burnt out of this strategy because it is a lot of looting, as you'll see. But at the end of the day, it makes big bucks. And if that's what you're going for, I think this is one of the better juicer ones. I will be testing more. Catch me on the stream and watch a little bit of the gameplay at the end. All right, I'll see you guys later. Peace out.